Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how I took my tank and I dished it out on the side. So you can see there that it's all kind of caved in, concave versus what? Convex, right? And the only real reason why I did it, because it's the look. It's a stock tank. I wanted to make it kind of look just a little different. You definitely lose, obviously, capacity, fuel capacity, but for this motorcycle, which is it's a Honda Shadow 600, it's not a very big bike, and I don't take it on long rides anyway, so for me, fuel capacity is not really an issue. So just keep that in mind that yes, you do lose fuel capacity. So if you're already stretched thin as it is, if you don't have to do this, then maybe you shouldn't. Another reason why you might do this is because maybe you dumped the bike or there was a lot of dents. You basically just want to make it look, more like it's done on purpose. So some people do this because they're trying to hide some dents and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm going to show you how I did it. Basically, you can see here that I didn't really do the best job removing all of the paint the first time around. So it's a little tougher to get in there and clean that up afterwards. So this time I removed everything first. And what I basically did was, the nice thing is about this tank is I have this pinstriping, the red pinstriping. I used that as my guide. I didn't go all the way to the striping on the top. And honestly, it's up to you where you want to dent the tank, how much you want to dent the tank. So I chose on the top to go a 1/2 inch down. So I marked it out with a Sharpie. You can kind of see there that I got my line 1/2 inch down. I did go all the way to the bottom, on the bottom pinstripe, so I just kind of made my loops around to the bottom pinstripe on the front and back. So, all right, what I'm going to use for tools, pretty basic. I got this rubber mallet. It's a stiff rubber on both sides. I think the yellow is a little stiffer than the red, but the key part here is that it's not perfectly flat. It's got a little bit of roundness to it, so that helps. And then 2 sets of ball peen hammers. Now, the bigger ball peen hammer, I almost found that, one, it's kind of cumbersome to use because it's so heavy, and this is probably just because I have little string bean arms here, but when you use it a lot, it was just getting kind of tough to use. The smaller one was nice because you can't go too much because it's so small, but it's just lighter to use and more comfortable to use. So I find myself using more, getting most of the shape roughed out with this guy and then going back and fine tuning with this. So, all right, to start, what I did on the other side was I basically just started right here in the upper part of the middle and worked my way down here. I will say that this dents really easily to start, so let's take a look. All right, you can already see there's a nice dent right there in the center. This area is gonna bang out much easier than down here. Down here, I started to get a little nervous on the other side because it was starting to, it was just getting really hard and not going that deep, and I wasn't getting that much progress. But you work at it and you eventually get it, and it ends up turning out not too bad. So, so I'm gonna get started here, and I'm gonna hammer for a little bit, and then I'll probably cut the video and show you my progress of what I've been using just with this hammer. I'm not gonna switch until I switch the video. Gets a little annoying, so I'm gonna throw some hammer protection on. So that didn't take too long, and you can see that I've already got a pretty good shape going on there. So I'm gonna do a little bit more, and we'll come back and see what it looks like. All right, so before I actually go any further, just a little bit of a technique. When you get towards the edges, instead of hammering still straight down, which is going to cause it to bend out beyond your marks, you wanna kind of start to change the angle of the hammer a little bit and start to come in, not 90 degrees, but more of an angle towards the edge, if that makes sense. And it puts more emphasis on bending in here and maybe starting to steepen this curve a little bit versus keeping a mellow curve which bends outside your line. So as you can see, I'm getting close to my line up top here. Instead of coming down on the top, I'm going to come in a little bit, and it puts a more of a sharp curve. You can see it's nice and tight there now, pretty much right on my line. So by coming in at an angle, I was able to really hone in exactly where the bend of the tank is going to be versus, like I said, if you come straight down, it's going to be a more gradual bend, taking it further than maybe what you want to do. All right. Okay, so this really didn't take long at all. I'm not done, not close to being done, but you can see I got the whole shape pretty much roughed out. I've really only had the camera off for like, 4 minutes, 5 minutes or so. So it really doesn't take that long to get it roughed out. It's going to take a lot longer doing all your fine work and really, fine tuning it. But it doesn't take that long. All right, really important, nice technique that I figured out. First off, let's go back to my first side. It's definitely a lot rougher down in the thinner end than it is. I mean, it's hard to tell. It kind of looks all really rough. It's actually smoother than it looks. But when I did this side, angle the camera a little bit. When I did this side, I basically hammered I was hammering here, then I came down here, and I just started hammering in the center. And what ended up happening was I hammered here, and then I started working my way this way, and it left me with a ridge, like a peak right in the center here. And then I hammered that peak down, and it kind of creased a little bit, and I was getting worried that I might damage the tank to the point where it was going to leak. It ended up working out okay. So I tried something different on the other side, where I just worked my way down from here, and I just kept working in the same direction. So that might be obvious to some people. Obviously, this is well, not obviously, but this is my first time doing this, and I am not a metal worker. I'm actually a woodworker. So the second time around, I tried this technique. I started here, and I worked my way and, finished this area, and then just worked my way in one direction all the way down, and that made this, like, way smoother. It's still harder to hammer out the smaller area, but there was no crease, there's no, it slowly just worked its way down. So I definitely suggest that technique, work from this side down. All right, at this point, I want to start sharpening up these edges. Again, hitting in versus hitting down will sharpen that edge up a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to crease it, but just, make it more defined. And then at this point, I'm going to go around and start feeling it and feel for the bumps and try to smooth out the bumps as best as possible. So a good technique on that, I might be yelling, I'm gonna take my headphones off here. A good technique on that is, I learned this when I went to school for woodworking, is sometimes your eyes can play tricks on your mind. So if you're looking at something, you might, your eyes say there should be a bump there, so you end up feeling a bump maybe that's not there. So a technique that I learned is to actually not look at the tank itself, just kind of look away, run your hand across and be like, oh, there's definitely a bump there. Then look back at it and be like, okay, keep my finger on it. I'm gonna grab my hammer, whichever hammer you're gonna use, and slowly work on that bump. Now, I found that the fine-tuning works really well with the small ball peen hammer. You got a lot less surface area on the tip here, so it doesn't take a lot of power for you to hammer out these small bumps. So I'm gonna start going around now. I might do a little more work with this guy, but I'm gonna start fine-tuning all these edges and going around and fine-tuning the bumps. So I'll be back. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I've just been going around using the small ball peen hammer. I've been running my hand over it, trying to see if there's any real big inconsistencies. By hammering it out, you're not going to get it 100% smooth. It's just, I don't know if would be possible at all for you to get this 100% smooth. Maybe with some different hammers, but even still, you're hammering metal. It's going to dent the metal. It's never going to be 100%. Another way to do this, somebody said online, is to literally cut the tank, reverse your piece, weld it back in. You'd have a smoother piece, and you just have to worry about the weld area. But it's a lot of work. You'd have to get it perfect on both sides. You'd have to know how to weld. You'd have to do some cleaning. You have to make sure the tank is sealed. I'm not saying it's a bad route. It's just that something that I'm not comfortable or have the skill set to do. So I'm hammering. So with that being said, it's never going to be 100% smooth. So I think you have a choice here. This is up to you, depending on depending on what you want for a look. If you want that hammered look, maybe the rest of your tank has some dings and stuff in it. So your bike, the build that you're doing is maybe more of a, what do they call that? A rat look. It's really ratty. It's you're kind of going for that patina or whatever. So maybe you want that hammered out look, and that's actually a pretty awesome look. I really like it. However, for me, my tank is in really good shape. My fenders are in good shape. I've repainted those. The bike is going to be not perfect by any means, but it's going to be good enough that I think I'm going to want to smooth this out. So I'm going to go in afterwards and do a little Bondo work and smooth it out the best I can, so that when I paint it, it's a nice smooth. It try to make it look as factory as I can. So just my last note on technique here. I'm using the small ball peen hammer. Like I said, I'm going around and I'm taking out the bumps the best I can. Don't forget that like I said before, the ball peens are a little sharp. So instead of coming straight down on where you want to hit, sometimes I've been kind of using the side of the ball peen, which gives you more surface area, which gives you a larger dent versus a smaller sharp dent. So that's just one other technique you can use. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. I think the other side of the small end is definitely a little deeper than this side. Of course, it definitely looks deeper too because of the paint. The paint's making it look like it's a deeper or darker area. It's not as deep as it looks on the video here. And this is definitely it's throwing you off with the paint and everything like that. But it's definitely a little shallower, and I think the reason for that is because I had so much trouble over here getting these creases out that I was just hitting it that much harder and that much longer on this side than I was on this side. But I have a saying, you can't look at both sides at the same time, so they don't have to be twins. They just have to be cousins. I think it looks pretty darn good. So that's all I got for you. Hopefully it helps. Yeah, good luck. Don't be afraid to do it. I'm new at this. I'm a woodworker. I just kind of went after it, and it's actually not that bad. I think the biggest thing is just making sure you have a little bit of a plan and a template to try to make them look as symmetrical as possible. But good luck.